why were people not able to see the truth, to see and accept the truth, even though it was right in front of them this whole time? Well, it has to do with their level of awareness. You see, when you take the time to sit in silence and to get rid of your thoughts and bring in your awareness and realize that you are not your thoughts and you can observe your thoughts separately. Once you take the time to do that and you raise your awareness, you raise your consciousness, right, through meditation, then you begin to see things more objectively. And the people who were shown the truth and said that, and people like us who were called conspiracy theorists and alt-right whack jobs said, this is the truth. We're just literally trying to show you the truth. And they said, no, it's not. I can't accept that. Well, there's many reasons why they couldn't accept that. I mean, one of the biggest reasons is our programming and indoctrination. You know what I mean? Our whole lives have been set up for a moment just like this to be able to accept something that wasn't what they say it was, right? So people were they're in a trance, you know, and that's all because of our programming. And we gotta remember that we all, well, not all of us, but people who do break out of their programming and break out of their indoctrination do so at different times, just like we did, right? Think about when you started to awaken, and you know, and you realize, like, wow, it took me this long. I'm this years old. You know, and you realize, wow, other people are now, you now start to see people in kind of the sense of before and after awakening. And it's really interesting to see. And I noticed a lot of people are using these leaked emails as a reason to boast and say, in your face, I told you so, a lot of this stuff, you know, calling them names. But that's just doing the same thing they're doing us. What that's not productive, right? Name calling and try to rub things in people's faces, that's not productive, that's not helpful. That's the only thing you're doing is creating more separation. So how do we treat this scenario? We say, you know, see, that's all. We were just trying to tell you the truth the whole time. You know, it's backed by real evidence. You know what I mean? And again, it's not your fault. It's not our fault. They couldn't see. Everybody's just at different stages of their raising their awareness or their awakening. Some people will probably not make it. They probably still won't be able to awaken. But, you know, you just got to have patience. You got to have compassion. Turning around and shoving it and trying to shove it in people's faces isn't going to accomplish anything. And, yeah, so we come back to the state of awareness and the state of being able to look at things objectively. Because there's a lot of different levels to this. You got to remember. There's you know, the level of emotional trauma, unhealed emotional trauma people have, which, you know, which can create other factors of them, you know, of a bigger ego. So they're living more in their ego, right? They just want to be right. Because when they're right, when they win an argument, if you're in your ego a lot, if you argue a lot, your goal is to win the argument, not to get to the truth. Because when you win the argument, that's gratifying to your ego and increases your ego, and that's where you live. So when we learn to step back from that, that's raising our awareness, and allows you to see more, right? And the biggest thing that helped me, and I know is helping a tremendous other people during these difficult times, not only to raise your awareness, but to completely center yourself, you know, open up to God and get to know everything, is meditation, right? All the great mystic and, you know, sages and all the great not religious and the not religious, just spiritual teachings, all drive at the same point. To start, not only to start this process, but to expand our consciousness. That's meditation. The Buddha says it, meditation. Christ sat in silence. You know, what is it called? What is it? The constant prayer, that where we keep ceaseless prayer, right? Ceaseless prayer. Sorry, I lost my marbles there for a second. Ceaseless prayer gets you is a meditative state, just like chanting. So Buddha, you know, Christ. I'm not so sure if you're familiar with the law of one, the material of Ra. I'll explain it real quick, but if you haven't checked that out, is one of the greatest philosophical and medical, physical and scientific and supernatural, paranormal, spiritual works that exist. The law of one was a channeling work, right? So this professor Don Elkins, in 1980. This guy was a UFO researcher and paranormal investigator and professor. And he researched UFOs and people who got abducted for years. And he went to seances. And him and his associate Carla Ruckert, who was channeling Ra, they saw spirits appear, and the spirits came up to him and touched him and talked to him and told him they were from a different dimension. Then they told, this is all in the introduction of the Book of Ra, before the actual sessions, the channeling sessions begin. They talk about psychic surgery, where people in like Mexico and the Philippines that just live in the mountains or in the woods and they just pray. They're just super lined up with intelligent infinity. They can heal people. They scan people's body with their hands. They find out where the issue is. They're using their it's called psychic surgery. They open the body with no tools. This probably sounds crazy, I know. Check it out. And then they're able to remove like cancerous or blockages, a lot of times in the kidneys, because the kidneys are your major filtration system and how you get your sewage system in your body moving, which we all need to get filtering immediately. And they take stuff out. So that's psychic surgery. Anyway, so Ra, there's Professor Don Elkin. He's asking the question through the channel, which is Carla Ruckert, who's in a trance, and she's channeling Ra. What is Ra? Ra is a 6-density social memory complex, about 1.4 million years old. Okay, so there's a lot of probably confusing things there. What is a social memory complex? A social memory complex is when all of the consciousnesses of a planet become unified on the same frequency, and they become a social memory complex, like everybody together. He's a 6-density social memory complex. This is Ra. So humans are 3rd density. So what are the densities? They're different levels of awareness or consciousness. The first density is the elements, I believe. It's water, fire, earth, and wind. And then the second density beings are animals and plants. And we're 3rd. They don't have the self-awareness that we have. Humans have. Humans are 3rd density. Animals, plants, 2nd density. Elements, 1st density. Humans, 3rd density, right? This is probably very confusing. And then, yeah, so animals and plants can move up to 3rd density, because the spiritual goal of life is to raise your density. Because the higher the density, the more aligned you are with the infinite creator, the God, and the intelligent infinity. So plants and animals, if given enough love, like pets, if you give a lot of times pets, when they can become in a way self-aware, and when they reincarnate, they come into the 3rd density. That's humans. Our job is to break through this physical matrix. It's all an illusion. Everything we see and everything in this life is an illusion. Okay, it's pretty crazy too. It's to break through this and realize that this is an illusion, and that we are actually a piece of God. We are a God. We are intelligent infinity. Everyone. We're all a piece. We're all reflections. We're all pieces of God experiencing itself. Right? And when people can align with the fact that we're all unified, not we, just we people, not we, including, plants and animals, and including everything. Everything is God. The chair I'm sitting in is God. If you can start meditating, this is what this is all started because of meditating. If you start meditating, you start raising your consciousness. And if you meditate on the fact that we are all actually united, we are all one, there's no separation. There's no such thing as separation. So think about everything the news does and the government does to separate us into groups. So what does separating do? It divides us, right? There is no such thing as separation. Whenever you put a label on something, you're segregating, you're separating. So that's non-productive. Even promoting like this group, let's celebrate this group. That's still you're still labeling it. You're still segregating it. So anyway, that everything's division. That's why that's why the biggest thing is there is no division. There's no separateness. In the real reality. Well, I guess this is real reality for us right now. And on the soul level, there's no division. Everything's one. There's a yin and yang, right? It's all one though, negative and positive. There is no evil and good. Technically, it's all one, right? So anyway, when you meditate on the fact that we're all one, if you treat everyone you see as God, Ram Dass said that. He said, treat everyone you see as God and drag, right? That's one of the greatest quotes. If you can get into the habit and get into your mind and your heart and your soul to look at people, everyone you see, and say, hi God, holy shit, you're God, I'm God, we're all God together. You know, that's what's going to bring humanity up to the well, they say 5D, but the fourth density. Our goal is to become collectively a fourth density planet, because once we get at this, we're in third density right now. This is third density. We're in the solution. Once you get to the fourth density, we basically have the choice to reincarnate as beings, much wiser and more powerful beings. I think that might be, I don't know if that's the love dimension. They tell, you know, they can communicate through telepathy. They don't have to say anything. Nothing they do is destructive toward their environment or themselves. It's all about spiritual, like, pretty much learning as much as you can and advancing. This is all in the law of one. A lot of the stuff I'm talking about. So anyway, where were we? We're going through the densities. And then, so Ra, so we're third density humans. Ra is a sixth density social memory complex. So they've been doing it a while, and they're pretty good at it. They're pretty high up there, right? They can travel. So again, a lot of the stuff I'm going to say, it depends on your level of awareness, and you got to use your discernment, whether you believe this or not. I personally do believe it is, because the information that is in this could not, the woman channeling, Carla Rucker, could not have known it. And she didn't know it. She had no idea. They were talking about advanced metaphysical things and times in history and facts and location that no one could know, unless you were so advanced that you know it all, because you're connected to the intelligent infinity. So Ra's sixth density, they can travel anywhere in the universe, because once you realize we're all one and everything's connected, or universal consciousness, intelligent infinity from the one intelligent creator, right? Then you can travel anywhere in the universe by thought. Ra travels by thought. They don't need a ship. They travel. They can go from here to Mars or millions of light years away by thought. They don't need it. So once you can do that. Sorry, my son and wife came to say bye. They're going for a walk in the backyard. Beautiful day. Every day's perfect. You know why? Because it's all in divine timing. Anyway, where were we? We were talking about the law of one. Okay. Anyway, it's all divine timing. Everything's perfect. There's nothing to worry about. There's no fear. There's nothing to fear. You got to get out. We got to get out of the vibration of fear and realize there's nothing to fear. Everything's perfect. And if we can rest back in our higher self, and you know, remember, what is your higher self? It's, you know, well, what would my higher self be doing? What would my higher self be eating? How would they be acting? Not in greed, not like how many possessions they have. So it takes a lot. It takes a lot to dwell on this, and this is all part of meditation. So Ra, let me get back to that. Ra could travel anywhere in the universe by thought. These sixth density beings can do that. I think maybe even the fourth, because they're connected with everything. They realize that everything is the same, everything's united. So you just go from here to here. And remember, there is no time. Time is an illusion as well. Everything's an illusion. That all sounds crazy. This is all in the law of one. This is in many, a lot of the ancient spiritual works mention all of this as well. I think the Upanishads, you know, it's all an illusion. The time doesn't exist. There's no time. Everything's happening at once. There's time on Earth for us that we use as a measuring tool for this, you know, this illusion, but really there is no time. Everything's existing at the same time. Anyway, they talk about the pyramids, right? Ra, the sixth density social memory complex. Pretty much he says stuff that if you accept that the trance is not making this up and it's exact information, that, you know, that this is real. They talk about Atlantis was let's see, Atlantis was I don't know, I think it might have started like 75,000 years. I don't know, between the last 75,000 years, maybe like 25,000 years ago. They're highly advanced. They end up destroying themselves with I think a nuclear war. They're actually more advanced spiritually and I believe technologically than we were. Some of them survived. I think they said they wiped out 40% of the population in their war. And then where did human souls come from, right? They talk about human souls and reincarnation. Reincarnation is in every major spiritual work, right? The guys. So this is what spiritual works are. They're the men and women who took the most time to literally go into their own consciousness and become part of the infinity. So these are trustworthy people, and they all say the same thing. Okay, they all say the same thing. I don't know what same thing I was talking about, but I mean, you know, it's an illusion. All the spiritual works say that we're Maya, the illusion, right? And what is our goal? Our goal is to get to become our Atman, the higher self, our soul. And so so this is all in the law of one. It's just spectacular work. They talk about UFOs, they talk about Bigfoot, they talk about our history, they talk about the history of the universe and the history of where human souls came from, right? Most of our souls came from Mars. We used to live on, there used to be a planet on Mars, but they destroyed it. They destroyed their planet. And Maldek is another one. They destroyed that too. I think they might have had a nuclear war or something similar. And all the people on Maldek, where a lot of our souls came from, that who are incarnated here at this time, they had such a bad war that the entire planet got wrapped in a knot of fear, and they couldn't escape it, so they couldn't raise their consciousness, and there was no way, because they were so destroyed by fear. So they actually had to send someone. They had to send an emissary of types of you know, the Galactic Federation, whatever it's called, and to untie this knot of fear. And then these people, these souls came in and came to Earth. You know, they talk about the professor of UFOs. John Elkins is very smart. And he deals with how UFOs travel. They travel interdimensionally. They pretty much you know, dematerialize. They don't travel in time. UFOs travel in time like we travel in space, right? They dematerialize, and so they can come in and out. It's not them. They don't really have to travel. Think of rock and travel anywhere in the universe instantly. You know, UFOs are basically time-traveling machines. So they talk about that. And they talk about spirituality, and it's all connected to spirituality, believe it or not, because everything's one. And they teach the law of one. Ra is channeling the law. It's called the law of one, the law of the universe. That's basically what it is. It's how things work. We are all light and love of the infinite creator, right? And that we are all pieces of that. And if we can, but our history is filled with entities suppressing who we truly are and what we truly can do, are capable of. And it talks about that. It talks about a lot of stuff. It talks about there's kind of negatively oriented entities that are very powerful, that give very powerful on Earth, people on Earth information. It's called the Orion Group. They're kind of the bad guys, really. And then there's the Confederation, which is the kind of more the positively oriented, even though there is no positive or negative. But on our plane there is. So we see how we were suppressed this whole time through the law of one. They teach, you know, he talks about meditation is one of the greatest things you can do to connect to the universe, to God, and to intelligent infinity, is meditate. Is meditate on the fact that everyone you see is God, everything is God. Meditate on unity and oneness. We are one, you know. And there's two paths we can choose on this spiritual path: service to others, which is the ideal path. That's the positively oriented path, or service to self, which is the selfish, which is greed and power. All the elites are in service to self. They're in that group. And believe it or not, they do advance on the scale of densities, even if they're negatively ordered, because service to self is still service to everything, because we're all everything, right? It's kind of confusing. Service to self is still empowering them in the law of one, because we're all one, right? But service to others is how we advance spiritually, and let's say get from third density to fourth density, and so on. However, here's a cool thing. Jesus, I believe, was fourth density. So he had already advanced from third to fourth. He had advanced. So that's a lot of people in this Earth plane were higher densities, which means they volunteered to reincarnate here to help people become aware, to wake up. But the problem is, some of the people who volunteer to come back and to do this, they're called wanderers. Some of them will get stuck in the matrix. They'll get stuck in the programming, and they'll actually end up gaining karmic. They'll gain karma from the activities and things they do and say while they're here, and not wake up and actually make things worse for them. But that's a risk you take when you reincarnate here. So the law of one, it's an incredible work, and you know, meditation is really the cornerstone to raising your awareness, raising your consciousness, and being able to see and accept the truth. Well, let's circle it back to our original point. People can't see or accept the truth even when it's right in front of them, because there's so many factors. There's the programming, there's a level of awareness, you know, there's the emotional needs that they rely on others and groups and authority because of unhealed emotional traumas. There's a lot of stuff going on. But I mean, we're part of the Great Awakening now. This is the greatest moment in human history. There's going to be a new renaissance. I'm calling it right now. There's going to be a new renaissance. Everybody's awakening at the same time. It's going to be very powerful. The world's going to change dramatically, right? I wouldn't be surprised if we see free energy soon. I wouldn't be surprised if we see the fall of the pharmaceutical industry and the pharmaceutical industry, the medical industry, the educational system, because when the people wake up, they realize that this is all part of our suppression. It's all keeping us down. It's not how things are supposed to be. So this is a very interesting time. You know what I mean? I mean, buckle up and stay centered. You know what I mean? There's a lot of stuff going on right now. Stay centered. Take the time. Take care of yourself. Make sure you're eating raw fruits and vegetables, eating correctly. Detox your body. I'm detoxing right now. I'm on all fruit with a little bit of vegetables. So, you know what I mean, for a few days. I'm trying to really work and try to get my kidneys filtering, because even though I'm pretty healthy, my kidneys still aren't filtering. How do you tell if your kidneys are filtering? Very easy test. You pee in a clear glass, right, or a jar, and you look at it. If your pee is clear, there's nothing floating around in it, then that means your kidneys are not filtering. Most people's kidneys are not filtering. Your pee should have sediment floating around in it, and stuff like sediment on the bottom, like a layer of sediment, like stuff. You can look up pictures, because that means your kidneys are filtering, because your kidneys need to get rid of your metabolic waste from your cells and toxins that are stored up in your body from injections and various other things, the air, your food. And if your kidneys aren't filtering, like 99% of people's aren't, then you can't get rid of that stuff. You can't get rid of your metabolic, your waste, your cellular waste. So that ends up storing up in your body and clogging up your lymphatic system, which causes every health problem you can imagine. But don't worry, you can reverse that by eating raw fruits and vegetables. But if you want to detox, you want to stick to fruits. So anyway, everybody's going to realize how simple and how it is to be truly healthy, and how easy it is to not get sick, to not get any diseases. So that's part of the Great Awakening. That's going to transform the way people live, people eat. There's going to be an incredible number of farms and orchards popping up, and people are going to start getting out of the grind, the rat race, and it's going to be incredible transformation. A lot of big stuff. This summer is going to be probably one of the most intense summers that's ever happened. Basically, what's going on politically too is pretty huge. You know, they're declassifying UFO information, which is separate, the Pentagon, and they're also trying to stage possibly a fake UFO alien invasion to try to trick us. That's a whole nother story. They're trying to trick us into thinking that aliens are hostile, which they're not. They're not hostile. And that we should be scared of them, and then if we did that, we'd allow them to put weapons in space, which my brother was telling me from a declassified Podesta email, apparently, that aliens said that we're not allowing weapons in space, we're not going to tolerate that. So they're not trying to even let that happen. Our friends up there, which we are grateful for. So basically their goal is to try to, they have the resources that they've been making UFOs for decades and decades, man-made. Most of the ones we see are man-made. They're going to try to stage it and make it look like those are aliens and they're bad. But so there's a documentary coming out by Dr. Stephen Greer shortly. It's going to have a lot of interesting, famous people endorsements too, and we need 1 to 2 billion people to watch that. So make sure you watch that. I can't remember. I think it's called what is it called? I don't know. I can't remember what the documentary is called, but it's about the whole scheme. And they have evidence of the prototypes, and they have people who worked on the UFOs, about the man-made ones and what their plan is. So I don't think it's going to actually happen, just because I think we're on the upswing of things. But let's just remember to stay centered. Let's remember to not. And if someone's trying to come at you with their ego and trying to argue with you or insult you or label you, just leave it. That's lower level stuff, you know what I mean? They're stuck in there. You're not going to change whatever you say. You're not going to change them. They just want to win the argument, because that inflates their ego. It makes them feel good. So just stay centered and stay in the truth, right? And people, if you're just now finding out that some people were actually telling you the truth the whole time, maybe take a step back and try to realign yourself. Spend some time in silence, and maybe take another look at them. You'll find that a lot of the people that you used to hate will actually be like, holy shit, I actually do agree with this person because they're telling the truth, which is also very interesting. Anyway, I'm going to go in and see what Cal's yelling about in there. He's probably eating some dinner, smashing it all over his face. I'm going to probably have some fruit, lots of that fruit, get these kidneys filtering. Check out lymphatic iridology if you're not familiar with it. You can learn how to read what's wrong or backed up inside of your body from your eye or your iris. Pretty interesting. All right, guys, take care. Take care of yourselves. Peace.